several foreign embassies were warning their citizens to stay clear of any concerts specifically. That was on earlier this month. And then Putin himself actually seemed to disregard these warnings at a meeting with the FSB a few weeks later and said that this was a manipulation on the part of the United States. So certainly there are questions around those warnings and how they were potentially disregarded by Russia.
115 people have died and more than 200 are injured after a mass shooting at a Moscow concert hall last night. A group connected to Islamic State has claimed responsibility for what is Russia's worst terror attack in almost 2 decades. But in the last hour, Vladimir Putin has said the suspect terrorists were caught trying to escape to Ukraine and had links to the country, a claim that we should say Kyiv has vehemently denied.
I am addressing you in regards to the bloody, barbaric terror attack that killed dozens of peaceful people that were not guilty of anything, our fellow citizens, including children, teenagers, women. Now, the main thing is not to let those behind this blood path commit new crimes. Regarding the investigation of this crime and results of operational search actions, I can now say the following. All 4 of the actual performers of this act of terror, all those who shot and killed people, were found and detained. They tried to hide and were moving in the direction of Ukraine. There, according to preliminary data, they had a crossing to the border prepared from the Ukrainian side. Overall, 11 people were detained.
Для перехода государственной границы. Всего задержано 11 человек.
Let's speak to Francesca Ebel, Russian correspondent for the Washington Post. Francesca, thanks for giving us your time.
Hi there.
What are we getting from President Putin at the moment? There seems to be a lot of confusion about who's responsible for this attack. Islamic State has claimed responsibility on the Telegram communications app, but it seems that Vladimir Putin's got different plans.
Yeah, he didn't outright blame Kyiv directly, but he certainly has suggested that the attack is somehow linked to Ukraine. He said that some of the perpetrators had tried to escape and cross the Ukrainian border, where he said that that a window was being prepared for them by the Ukrainian side. So that's quite a clear link there. He then went on to say that the criminals in cold blood purposely went to kill and shoot at point blank range our citizens and our children, as the Nazis did, which, I mean, he's really trying to stoke emotions here and possibly link it to Russia's purported war aim of trying to what they call de-nazify Ukraine. As you said at the top, Ukraine has obviously repeatedly denied since the attack happened last night that they are in any way involved, and they've said that Moscow is possibly trying to create a sort of false flag operation to stoke support for the war and potentially even launch a second mobilization wave. So that's the sort of situation on both sides, really.
What do we know about the people that have been captured so far? 11 detained. Do we know anything more about them? Were they all present in the attack? What's the latest so far on the people that have been apprehended?
So according to Putin, a total of 11 people have been detained in connection with the attack, and that included 4 of direct perpetrators, which I think means the gunmen. There's been a lot of reporting that has not been officially confirmed yet. So at the moment, we don't really know very much about who these people might be. And yeah, as I said, there's quite a lot of reporting going on that is not very well sourced and maybe fake news. So it's better to wait for the official confirmation.
I am reminded, Francesca, of the last time, I think it was 2002, in October 2002, there was a Moscow theatre hostage crisis, which was, I think at the time, put down to Chechen rebels, if I remember correctly. And that was one of the first times that we saw Vladimir Putin sort of really gain power post that tragic event as well, because he acted quickly. And a lot of people look back at his history and his career and say that was one of the events that really put him on the map. Can we draw parallels to what's happened yesterday? Is it too soon?
It's definitely a little early to say or draw parallels, but certainly there was potentially the apartment bombings in 1999, which just proceeded as literally as he came to power, which is really credited with bolstering his power and regime, and was used as a sort of reason to launch the Second Chechen War. And then the theatre bombing actually was, many people fear, was mishandled by the Russian security forces. What actually happened is over 150 people died, predominantly as a result of the special forces gassing the theatre. So as we know, Russia is still, as proven by yesterday's attack, very susceptible to terrorist attacks, and has a long, tragic history of this happening repeatedly on Russian territory.
Francesca, as we said, the Islamic State has claimed responsibility on a Telegram channel. Can you explain to us why they would be looking to hit at the heart of the Russian state?
It's a rather complicated connection that is linked to a cell, a sort of Islamic State cell, which is linked with the Taliban in Afghanistan. At the moment, there's not very much reporting on this subject, and little is really known about the motivations. But certainly, it's to, if indeed they are behind this attack, it would be to disrupt and destabilize the government.
And will there be any criticism, do you think, levelled at the Russian government when news has come out that there was information from the United States about a potential attack that was handed over to the Russian intelligence services? The US Embassy had warned about such an attack all the way back to March the 7th.
Yeah, that was a very strange weekend. It wasn't just the U.S. embassy; it was several foreign embassies were warning their citizens to stay clear of any concerts specifically. That was on earlier this month, and then Putin himself actually seemed to disregard these warnings at a meeting with the FSB a few weeks later, and said that this was a manipulation on the part of the United States. So certainly there are questions around those warnings and how they were potentially disregarded by Russia. But the other question is, how is it possible for that several people are asking, how is it possible for the Russian authorities to spend so much effort and energy tracking down anti-war protesters, people that were mourning the late opposition leader Alexei Navalny? The Moscow authorities have been using video surveillance to track down people just for laying flowers at his grave and at memorials through their sort of very, very sophisticated video surveillance system, and have somehow potentially missed this attack in the Russian capital.